Hello, and welcome to the First Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Monica Patrice. We are back from a short hiatus in January. Um, had some wonderful time traveling and visiting family, and I'm excited to be back, bringing you back some good therapeutic content. So for this new episode, and this is now our ninth episode, I actually was able to have a conversation with two of my favorite gentlemen. Um, and it really was just kind of like an impromptu roundtable conversation that we would typically have as friends. And I just pulled out the mic and I let the conversation flow. And these men were extremely vulnerable and just gave a lot of information about men and how men deal with insecurities and develop their self-worth and how men learn to love. Um, it was a really, really good conversation. And so I hope you guys will enjoy this latest episode. And I'm looking forward to bringing you more content and episodes. And I just want to say that I appreciate you so much for listening and sticking with the First Mind podcast. Enjoy, and I'll see you guys soon. Let's heal.
We started playing football like on the grass at Dodge, and I remember him just saying something to me, like this other dude, some black kids, like calling us monkeys or something. We like in fifth grade, and it was like the first week of school, and I remember we playing football. He like tripped me after calling us these names. He also come up and like kind of kicked my leg from under me during the game, and I fall in some mud, and I got on my new clothes, and my new clothes is all like mean a lot because I'm only gonna have new clothes for that one, that first day, second day. So I got up and just walked and punched Nick Nero straight in his mouth and cut my knuckles on his teeth. For like most of my life, I used to have scars across my knuckles. They just went away.
So that's a good segue. No, because David talked about that. That's kind of how we got here. Is we were talking about the development in the early part of our life of our self-worth or underdevelopment. So getting called monkeys is probably not contributing to a healthy sense of self-worth. I think we often talk about it in the women's world, our insecurities, but I don't hear it from men. So what would you say are some things that contributed to the development of a good sense of self or the underdevelopment of a sense of self-worth? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, that makes sense. I mean, I think if I'm like trying to reflect back on being a young kid, I think being a young kid from working class family, first it's like not being able to afford the clothes, the shoes, all those pieces.
Even before being black? Like you feel
I think all this is happening
at the same time.
Like it's all entangled. So I think some of it is like not being able to kind of do that performance of value through your clothes and all those things that you don't have that language as a kid, but these are things that you do to show you that you're valuable. You need to have these certain type of things that's at one point it could have been everything from having a Game Boy to eventually a cell phone to having a certain type of shoes, having a certain type of clothes. But then it's also the piece of being a young, dark-skinned black boy and also having and I don't remember feeling like this was something necessarily that played out like as a major critique as I went through school, but I feel like it was something definitely within like my family with cousins, mainly other my male cousins, which is like we were always, talking trash about each other's skin color. So me getting dark skin jokes, if I had cousins who were light skinned, they get light skin jokes.
Who considers you dark skinned?
Honestly, I got so many dark skin jokes from like cousins and maybe some close friends I grew up with. You couldn't have convinced me I wasn't a really dark skinned person until I got to college. And then I was around like a wider spectrum of skin color. And people are like, "Dude, you not dark skinned. Like, why you keep like having this reference to yourself as dark skin?" And
I'm like, you don't know my struggle. Like,
but that really was
not us like that.
That's really how it was. It was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I was like, listen, y'all right. But I couldn't see that until I got to college and was able to reflect back because that was the joke always being made by my male cousins, some of my friends, was like, you dark skin, you dark skin. And it's wild because I had to look back and be like, damn, I really am not that dark skinned. But that was the commentary. So at some point in there, I said, okay, I'm dark skinned. And I thought in order to navigate those insults, it was, okay, well, I got to take pride in being dark skinned. I got to claim it.
Wow.
And then I got to start, pushing back and dogging them for being light skinned or whatever, not having these clothes or whatever it was. But it wasn't until I got to college that I realized, oh, yeah, I probably, should not run around saying I'm just dark. Not that I'm light skinned, but I'm definitely not. I'm dark.
There's levels.
Yeah. But I'm like, my cousin used to ride me so hard about being dark skinned that you couldn't have convinced me I was one of the darkest people on this planet.
So much. And the thing is, like, one of the things about dark skin jokes was anybody could pull them out. It didn't matter. Like, you could have nothing. You could have no teeth and no hair and no clothes.
And still.
And a dark skin joke was going to work for you. Like, that joke trumped all other jokes.
That is a wild, like.
It really did.
That's
like,
a wild
There's
epiphany.
nobody that couldn't use a dark skin. Like, you just could if you pulled that out, it was always good. Yeah, so that was really, really tough. And
I just think it's also so interesting how long this has prevailed. Like, when I left education, the kids were still making fun of each other based on skin color.
But they not removed from, I think to your point of why a dark skin joke always works is because we all still very much embedded in a society where white is the standard. So if so much of what happens in anti-blackness is trying to make yourself more approximate to whiteness, the having a darker skin color is the most like physical manifestation of being away from whiteness. So even if we centuries removed from slavery, moved from these different things, you still in the present day embedded in that idea that we're supposed to be trying to approximate ourselves to whiteness, and dark skin immediately give you away. Maybe some people can change language, change how they dress, do all these other things, but if you dark skin, brown skin, or just can't play that racially ambiguous whatever card, people got that joke or that critique or that,
So David, do you remember the first time somebody said something that made you aware that your skin was something that people didn't like? Or
I can't I can't I wish I could. I can't remember the first time. But it happened once it was happening. It never really stopped. But what I realized later, and even then, because I was aware of my feelings in the moment, I remember like playing outside and coming in, and my mom fussing at me for like being outside too long, and because I'm like getting so black, because I would get darker during the summer.
My grandmother used to say the same thing.
Like, and this is my mom.
Yeah.
And and she never. I didn't have the balance of being negatively talked about and also affirmed. Like, I think if you're being teased for something, but you have someone affirming or a team of people that are affirming, it can in some ways counter what's happening. And for me, that wasn't the case. So like, I got these negative messages, and that was hurtful. And I realized later in life that my mom didn't know that I needed to be affirmed.
Mm-hmm.
She loves me so much. She didn't. I bet today.
Well, and I wonder, did anybody affirm her ever?
I don't know.
Because you and your mom are close in complexion.
Yeah. So but and I don't know. We never really talked about that because I don't know that she really got those jokes, but I think she never understood that like your son's feelings can be hurt your son can be hurt by the way he looks. So I think we think to tell girls they're pretty, but we don't necessarily in the same way think to tell boys they're handsome, because it's kind of just assumed that with the male energy is going to come a certain confidence and like a machismo, I guess, that a man is going to carry. So you don't necessarily think that a boy would need to be affirmed by his looks.
I think that when I hear boys be affirmed, like little boys, it's always linked to like it's like, you're so handsome, you're gonna have so many girlfriends. Like it's always linked to like you're gonna have a bunch of women, which is always weird to me because like as an adult woman, your biggest complaint is a man who has a bunch of women. So why are you telling like the little boy like he's so cute? But no, that's a very powerful thing you said. Like, so you didn't have anybody to counter the negative, which I always say, I think that's the only distinguishable difference that I can really tell about your life versus other people who I know who had similar struggles. Like even for myself, like the fact that you are able to speak to having people who poured into you and told you like you were going to be successful no matter what. Like I think even if you don't have resources, like if the world is against you, like if you have people in your house who are pouring into you, who are like, you are going to be great, like it's a game changer.
No, I think that's real. You know, because I had a grandfather who probably could have passed for white. I had a grandmother who was light skinned. Almost all of my aunts are light skinned, and my aunts ran my family. My mom's light skinned, and I feel like I don't recall any moment like any of them ever say anything to me, at least as a black boy, about my skin color, make me ever feel like that was something that was an issue. But you know, I was very aware, and it's funny too. I even think about some of my cousins who used to make so many jokes about my skin color. They probably are my skin color. Like it wasn't. So like I look back on it, and I'm like, I was very aware that my family had a good number of light skinned people in it, but I never felt like that was necessarily the standard of what we were supposed to be ascribing to. Not saying that it wasn't there's some anti-blackness and all that stuff in there, but at the same time,
so nobody ever said to you, you better come up in the house, you staying outside too long, you're gonna get black.
Not my parents. Now I think I had cousins, and I used to remember have my rebuttals back to them as like, you dark skinned too, or but I think I had cousins who, and they own insecurities around being darker skinned, were also just kind of projecting out to me as the younger cousin. But I don't remember. I definitely never had no parents telling me come in the house because you got to get darker or any piece like that. And I also wonder, as I'm even thinking about this, like I have, in my mom's siblings, all her older siblings are light skinned, but her younger siblings have a different father, and they're all dark skinned. And I wonder, even in them, and my mom and her siblings are super close. Like they all are like best friends together every week, damn near. And I wonder, even in them navigating their relationship, did they also already learn some type of, or unlearn some things in order to make sure that they were taking care of their dark skinned siblings. Because I can't think of any message, not saying that it wasn't there and not saying it didn't show up in different ways. I could guess that if you took a woman in my family who was dark skinned and had them reflect on, it might have been some things about hair, it might have been some other pieces, but I don't recall it necessarily in my experience. And then I had a father who was very, like, his big thing was always affirming us and trying to speak like that we were, whatever we were supposed to do, it was always supposed to be at the very least extraordinary. Like, so it was always this idea. At the very least, it was supposed to be something extraordinary. And he was a dark.
Just for podcast purposes, like he truly is extraordinary. So it works. So if you're listening to this and you have children, you have to tell them that they're extraordinary, and then they will become extraordinary at the very least.
And I think that is very much, if you grew up in the Bishop household, is what you heard. My dad preached it, and we brought it to my mom. She affirmed it, like, yeah, y'all bishop, y'all supposed to like. So it's funny because we have conversations with other people, and they're like, yeah, that's not how my parents, spoke. They like my parents didn't speak like that over me. And in a way, I can get why it's weird to speak like that to your kid, because you are almost you might be worried that you're gonna give your kid too big of a head. But I think my parents are like, we are poor, we're trying to overcome some things. Y'all Black, you need to have a big head, because you need to have this big confidence that can withstand the blows, but also a big confidence that can like just dream big, that can have that will to keep pushing. But yeah, man, my parents used to speak to us like, just simply because we were bishops, that meant we had some divine thing that we were supposed to go do. And when you're young, you don't have anything to challenge it. You're just like, okay, I'm a bishop, this is what y'all told me, and that's all I know, and that's what I guess I'm supposed to be doing. But it did pay off in a lot of ways that you don't realize when you're a kid until you get older and you start talking to people, and people like, yeah, my parents told me, like, don't get your expectations too high.
And I think in the same way that you say, it's so interesting, the reframing of it, because you said your parents did it because you needed that confidence to conquer the world. Whereas I feel like, and I can only speak from my experience, maybe David, you could tap in here. My mom didn't do that for our protection. Like, I think there's something, and I don't have anything to confirm this, is just what I've rationalized after going to therapy. I think there's something in my mom's lineage where being too big, too proud might have put you in danger, like in some real, you know what I mean? So their way of surviving life was, I think, to play small. Like, and I don't even know if they know they're playing small. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what was taught, was like, no, you're not extraordinary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you are regular, and you're going to have a regular life and be happy with that. So, David, like, what do you think? Like, so you said your mom loved you so much, so she didn't know she had to affirm you. But do you think that, is your mom, you feel like, extremely confident? Like, would she have had that to give to you?
I mean, I think she was confident enough. I think she just wasn't aware of what my need was. Because the things that happened, like all the jokes and stuff, I mean, that's not in front of her.
So you never went home and was like, Mom, like, they're making fun of my skin color?
No.
Huh.
No, I mean, I don't know what I would have told her that for. Like,
so how did you deal? Like, so you didn't talk to anybody about it?
No, I mean, I think most of the time, if you're talked about as a kid, you just deal with it in your head, like you might accept it, you might reject it, you'll turn it over for a while, and decide where you want to situate it in your mind, but it's in your mind, and I don't know that you go and talk to parents like, hey, I'm being teased. What are they going to do?
No, I went home. The first time somebody called me a nigger, I went home and told my parents, and then my parents came outside and they dealt with it.
So that's different.
Racial slur are different than people who look like you.
Oh, so I don't. Yeah.
And it happened so much. I mean, I don't know what point.
But I guess never, like, collectively you expressed to your mom. Did you ever ask your mom, like, Mom, like, am I handsome?
No, I don't think that's question. I don't think that's dynamic between most boys and their mom.
You don't ask. I mean, because I think you feel like you know what you know already.
So you believe that you were unattractive?
Yes, and as did my classmates.
Jalil, what did you think about yourself? Like,
I don't remember definitely not believing that I was, some super attractive person. But I don't remember feeling like I was ugly or like not attractive, if that makes sense. So I didn't think like I'm gonna walk in the room and everybody about to, like all these women about to run up on me. Like I didn't have that attitude. But I used to feel like, I was an attractive person, but I also understood that attraction often was defined as light skin, racially ambiguous that they could be. Like I understood that light skin definitely
was the trump.
Was where attraction was.
Do you think it makes a difference whether you are in a predominantly black school or white school? Like your experience was in predominantly white spaces. David, was your school predominantly white?
K through 8, it was all black.
I imagine that.
So it doesn't matter.
All black.
Wow.
I imagine, And
do you think that's changed? Like, do you think that light skin is still the trump card? Because I feel like Burna Boy just talked about this. He feel like it's more equitable now, but in the masculine, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think as grown men is a little bit. I can imagine being different, but even still within that, I think there's I think there's still a very certain type of dark-skinned black man that is projected as, an ideal. And I think that's a very muscular, perfect beard.
Right.
So you can't just be a regular dark-skinned man.
I think still gotta have
So you're saying that if you're light-skinned, you don't even have to have that extra sauce?
I don't think so. Not always. And I'm not. None of it is. None of it is a guarantee, but I think that there are a lot of ways that people look at a light-skinned person and will see that person just in a closer proximity to what they see as beauty, as handsome. And I don't think that's always what's like. I think it takes people some maturity and some unlearning for them to see a darker skin as beautiful. Not everyone and not always, but I don't think that's always.
Or sometimes I'll notice with women, like it'll be really dark skinned women, but with more European features.
See that?
Okay, so David, you believed you weren't attractive. When did you come to realize that you might be attractive?
Might be attractive.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like when did it turn? Like when did it change? Because you are definitely attractive.
So, I mean, when I started to think, well, maybe things have changed. Maybe the tide has turned. It was probably, I want to say like 21, 22. It was nearing the end of undergrad. But I also attributed some of that.
So when you went to college, you still had this belief? Okay.
And there was no evidence to the contrary.
Well, you weren't going to the parties. You need to go to the parties.
No, you don't have to. No, not.
But then, did you feel like the belief? Because this is the other thing. You can have sometimes dominant ideas about yourself, but not absolute ideas. So you could have maybe many times saw yourself as unattractive, but do you think there were times going through high school where you did feel confident in your physical appearance, or you did get some type of validation or some type of flirtation or something?
There were a couple moments.
Okay.
Just a couple. I mean, just a couple.
Okay.
Where I was like, oh, like, really? Like, so, but for the most part, it was an absolute belief for me going into college.
Okay.
And it started to change around the time that I was getting ready to graduate. But I also thought that at that time, what women were finding attractive was starting to shift also. Because they're looking around at, okay, well, this person ain't graduating. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now women are starting to look for something else, and the graduation is starting to catch their eye. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Okay, so for you, you're saying that you feel like you started to come into your understanding of attractiveness when you started to graduate college.
Yes.
Like you still didn't think you were physically attractive, but you had collected more attributes that were attractive to women.
Right.
But you're still in this time thinking you're not attractive.
Pretty much.
This is so wild to me.
It really for me didn't change until I separated from my ex-wife. Now, like until then, I didn't, because then I got to see like.
When did you start dating?
So that's probably part of a
Yeah.
story that we're missing, like because you went into marriage without really dating.
Yeah. But after we separated, I started finding out about like different people that had been attracted, and I just didn't know because I was married, and like there was people that I had a crush on, and I was just like, what, huh? Like, and I couldn't believe it. So it was around that time that I started to figure out like, oh, so it wasn't just that they thought I could do something for them; they were just actually attracted. So yeah, that's when it started to kind of concretize. Like, wait a minute, no, maybe not for everybody, but there's some bodies that
David, when did you start dating your partner?
I was 22.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I can definitely think. So I hear what David's saying when he's saying that he think when he graduated college, he could start to realize that the women in your life were seeing like these other attributes beyond just the physical as something that mattered. And I feel like when I was young, I kind of had a piece of that too, of feeling like people, like I think I just always felt like, look, I might not be the best looking dude in this space, but I got some type of game I can use here.
Okay.
Like, if that's talking to you on the emotional tip, that's talking to you on the wisdom tip, we got to go. Look what I'm doing over here in sports. Look what I'm doing over here in school. Whatever it was, I felt like I had some type of game that at least could get me, some type of attention. But I do agree that I didn't necessarily feel like, my trump card or my go-to play was, I just feel like I'm physically attracted, so I can move through.
But you had confidence in your other abilities because when you went home, the humans were like, you're extraordinary, you're magic, you can't fail. Yeah. Like David, who's saying he didn't have any of that validation. So how much confidence did you have in your skills? Like, you didn't think you were physically attractive, but like how Jalil is saying, but I knew I had these other things. Like, did you feel like you had other?
Well, I knew I was a smart kid. So like I was the straight A kid. I was like the smart boy. We started a doctor's club when I was in 4th grade. There was 6 of us. I can name all 6 now. Like,
and that type of stuff gives you a type of value when you're in school.
Yeah,
it gives you a type of value.
And I went to a private Christian school that was founded by my godmother, and she is no longer here. And she was an incredible human, and she did a lot of affirming things. Like she would say affirming things to me. And just being in that environment, it was an all black school. Like I didn't go to school with a white person until the 9th grade in my entire life.
Wow.
I never been in a school building and there was a white kid there. I the first white kid that I had in class, I remember my 9th grade year, I became friends with Adam Place. We're Facebook friends now.
Hey, shout out to Adam.
Adam Place. Because we had
but
Mr.
you also,
Orange
I
class.
think you also, before we started this conversation, we were talking about interracial dating, and you said you've never dated outside your race. You don't have a desire to date outside your race. And the reason you said is because there's so many beautiful.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's just, and I say this sincerely. I know a lot of dope black women.
Me too.
Like, I know a lot of dope black. There there are too many dope black women. There are way more dope black women than dope black men that I know.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's not close. No, like it's not close though. Like understand, it's not close.
So, okay, so now as an adult, where are you at in terms of who you are and what you feel like you bring to the table? Like, are we at a place now where we feel like we're attractive? And I'm asking because you said you see so many dope black women, but like I consider you to be like one of the dopest people I know as well. So like, are you able to recognize now as an adult that like you're the man?
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, honestly, like I wouldn't. I have things to offer. I'll say I have things to offer.
So you still don't know, like
I have things to offer.
Where are you at, Jalil? Like, so I know you had somebody pour into you, but we also matriculated through a district that constantly told us that we were not enough, I feel like, in a lot of different ways, just by nature of what society is. But anyway, so even with that validation you had at home, like, where are you at? Like,
I mean, I definitely view myself as an attractive person. I view myself as someone who has a lot to offer, but also someone who, if I need to navigate the world as just the physical, like I feel a confidence about that. But that is something that I've had to grow over time. It was definitely not something that was always there. And I don't know,
what about in spaces with people with like a lot of money? Like having grew up with little resources, like do you feel comfortable in spaces where people have a lot of resources? Because that's a struggle for me.
I mean, I think I feel comfortable in those spaces, but I'm also, I don't know, like I don't seek them out. I do find myself in them sometimes if it's work or just social life, but yeah, I don't find myself like super uncomfortable. It's nothing about there that makes me feel like, oh, I'm an imposter, I'm not supposed to be here. Or even if I am somewhere where I'm like, oh, I don't know the etiquette of this space, I find that like a humor in that too.
Okay. So you wouldn't, like, if you went to, I don't know, an event and like didn't know what fork to use,
it wouldn't bother me because it would be like, I would laugh at the idea that we have a fork. But I think a part of that was just also, like, there were some rules I gave myself very early in life to just not be invested in something. So, and some of that has served me, and some of that has been things I've had to unlearn. But some of those things where I didn't have money, so I was not going to be able to build no confidence, no swag, no nothing around stuff with money. So that was having these type of shoes, these type of clothes, this type of etiquette, this type of suit. It just wasn't something I invested a lot of energy into because I was like, I'm not about to be able to pull this off. And at least when I was a kid, I was like, I don't know when I will get to a point I'm able to do this. So if I'm going to have value, I got to go find it somewhere else. Like, it couldn't be in those things. And I think that has served me in a lot of spaces now, places where.
That's so amazing that you like conditioned your brain to be like, money doesn't matter. Like, even when you meet people, like, it's just like whatever.
But the downside of that too is that you basically divest from things so long that when you get to the point where you can't actually make the choice now to be like, oh, I can make the choice to get some Jordans. But you already spent all this time telling yourself, don't ever care about no damn Jordans because you can't afford them. You got to go find your value somewhere else. Don't ever care about them damn Jordans. And now I can go buy some Jordans. But I'm like, I already told myself for years. And Jordans may be a smaller thing, but it can get bigger. Where you have to be like, you may not be giving yourself, you may not be taking full advantage. I may not sometimes take full advantage of like my financial resources and comfort because I'm like, those are things that I just divested from a long time ago, saying like, I don't have them. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get them, so I'm never going to care about them. And I have had to unlearn that in some areas, and then some areas it has served me because it just has made me have to go find value somewhere else outside of some of those material things. But it also has been a limitation, and I've had to realize like being basically having to do reflection and saying like, do I dislike this because I actually don't want this thing or don't value it, or do I dislike it because that's a narrative I told myself when I was a kid? And that just takes some reflection.
That's so interesting to me because I don't frame it like that. Like I didn't whatever happened in my little kid head, probably because I didn't have the person telling me I was extraordinary. My dad always said I was magic, and I did believe that, but I framed it in my little mind developmentally that I didn't deserve those things. And probably after having kids, like it really cemented that belief. But like, because I had children out of wedlock, and I was told like I wasn't deserving of a good life because of that choice. So I think, whereas you're saying I'm not invested in that, which is very different than saying I'm not worthy of it.
Yeah. But I think as I've come into my own as an adult, I struggled with that for a long time. Like, even get myself things I needed, like quality footwear, so my feet would hurt. But like, just David, just go ahead and spend the money, like you can. But I think I'm at a place now where I do think I'm deserving of nice things, and I don't have a really difficult time paying for them. But I do have a difficult time with certain things like DoorDash, or if I feel like
would you get a housekeeper?
I thought about it and could.
I know you can.
And just like I just can't do it.
I think it's
oh no, it definitely felt uncomfortable, but I could do it.
And we
if I had a different place, if I had a bigger place, maybe I could.
This is a nice sized place. But also, we grew up, we had resources. Just somewhere down the line, they said, this is the most you're going to get, and you can't have no more resources than we had. Like, so, we had a lot of resources. And I think what also is most interesting, and you and I talked about this the other day, is that we really set ourselves up to have the life. Like, we're multi-degreed individuals. We make good money. Like, we set ourselves up to have the life. I still just never bought the life. Like, I still lived like a person who didn't have the means to have the life I deserved. So for me, it is about self-worth. But Jalil is saying,
yeah, I think there's another part for it too. I think growing up poor, it was a long time too, thinking that all this, basically, I mean, a part of me growing up poor is that it was always a crisis that was happening. So even when I got financial stability, which I joke that I got it right away, because like I grew up in a household where my mom made, probably by the time I graduated high school, my mom probably was making like $25,000 a year. So, and I'm one of, my mom has 6 kids. So, that's not a lot of money. And that's when I graduated high school. So that means she was making much less than that prior to that. So when I came out of college and was in my doctoral program, my fellowship paid me, my fellowship plus other work, I probably was making like $40,000. I was good. What y'all gotta tell me? Like,
my first contract was $39,000.
That's what you said, which is so strange to me.
Oh,
I felt like, yeah.
I was chilling.
I just remember, David, when we first got like those jobs, like our real big adult jobs, which was in the same district. I just remember I've been eyeing this BCBG coat, and it was like $500 at Nordstrom's, and we would go visit it. Do you remember? Like, I would take you to visit the coat, and I would try the coat on, because it wasn't that I didn't have the money to get that coat. It was always like, I'll spend that money on the kids. Like, that stuff was not, you know what I mean? Like, so, but I did eventually get the coat. I still have that coat. I can't hardly fit it. Like, it's very tight, but I love that coat.
Cool.
But yeah, I remember like our first.
Well, that's funny because I have a coat story with David. You remember?
I do remember.
I don't know this story.
Yeah, so, and this is why what's funny is that when I met David, I thought David I was in high school, I guess, at this point. Yeah. And I thought David was a cool dude with all his swag, all his fashion. Like, so that's why to hear you say that, you know, you didn't know, you still have to work through whether or not he was attracted. I thought David was the dude, like, you know, and David took me to, I don't know, we was at the mall. Yeah, and he took me to, I spoke.
Yeah, it was after, yeah.
And he took me, we tried his coat. I remember it was like this gray, like peak coat with a little fur on it.
With the white fur across.
And David was like, yeah, man, you look good in that, whatever. I had that coat and rocked it until I couldn't rock it no more. And a part of that was, but I remember that being one of those moments where I made a choice to buy a coat that wasn't frugal, wasn't practical.
Oh, I love this story.
But it was a time of being like invested in fashion and being like, oh, okay. And David put me on to that.
Man, I remember that coat.
Yeah.
There's a photo of you in the mirror in that coat. Yeah. Like, I don't know where it's at, but man.
I know that this is only going to be audio, so nobody's going to be able to see how, like, attractive and well-dressed and well-groomed these men are. I'm going to put pictures up so y'all can see them. But one of the things that came out of the conversation we had the other day that I want to make sure that my female lady, women, feminine energy people are hearing is that sometimes the men don't know. Like, sometimes men are not shooting their shot because they don't know that they have a shot with you. So a lot of times as women, we're thinking and overthinking like that is something with us. But sometimes the most attractive and most together men, because I have two of them sitting here, are saying that they don't always feel like they look.
I mean, it really is that way. Like, a lot of times people, you know, it's happened where a person has told me like, well, I had a crush on you, I liked you. You are kidding me right now. So I would have never known. And there's people I never would have talked to if they show some interest. So, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, every man is not every man. Maybe it's humility. Maybe it's just a lack of confidence.
I'll say two things on that. I think on the first piece, it is interesting. I do feel like most of the time when I've had women express attraction to me, it has been like after the fact or in a space where nothing's gonna happen because I'm with somebody else or something like that. Like, I feel like it's been more of like, oh, you know, I had this big crush on you then. So it is interesting how much it's not necessarily.
But are you surprised? Because David's saying he's like legitimately surprised. Like,
I mean, I'm not surprised in the sense like, wow, someone could be attracted to me. That type of surprise. I'm sometimes surprised like, oh, that person will feel me that way and they never say anything or any of those pieces. But I do know when I got with my partner, like before we got married, so we were back in college, both. And like we had, before we like fully got together, we had different moments in college where we just were dating, whatever. And I do remember something that was so affirming was how loud my partner was about just like how attractive she was to me. Like, you know, how like just she saw me here on campus and, you know, thought I was so handsome, all these different.
Oh, so men like compliments?
I mean, I personally I like somebody tell me I'm handsome.
Yeah, like that's great.
So I feel like that was something that was very attractive to me. You know, just was very exciting. And for me, again, I'm not a person who believed that, you know, you gotta have on these shoes, these clothes, whatever, in order to be presentable, likable, whatever. So having a partner too who was just that enthusiastic about me without feeling like I need to have XYZ thing going on was like
I'm
very
gonna get a partner.
Enthusiastic. Wow. Enthusiastic. When you can describe your partner as enthusiastic.
But how beautiful is that to say? Like, I'm not invested in material, so I'm just showing up as my authentic self. And this other human is recognizing me and my beauty from across campus in my authenticity. Like, I think that's what everybody wants and
I
strives
just have
for.
to say it one more time. Enthusiastic. Oh my God.
And it definitely felt different. Like I've had people who like me, people, who I've been in relationships with, people I was attracted to, but it felt like, it just felt different. And I think that's like I can't say that that's a feeling. And I don't know, I can't say that like, a friend or a person I know who I may say, oh, this is a light-skinned attractive person. I don't know if they're experiencing enthusiastic attraction or not. I feel like what felt different to me was just have somebody being really in my face about.
I want somebody to be enthusiastically attracted to me.
I'm about to say something unpopular. And people are going to disagree. Men like to be pursued too.
What Jalil's describing is not pursuit, though. Like,
it's some pursuit, though.
It's. I'm enthusiastically attracted to you.
Wait. I
see you from across the hall, and I love the way you look. That's not me pursuing you. That's just me expressing how you're visually, aesthetically pleasing to me.
I think it's pursuit. If I'm pursuing a person, those are the things I might say to them. But also, is it problematic to say men like to be pursued?
No, and I shouldn't be gaslighting you into not feeling that way. But
because I think it's because it's problematic. That was your response.
Yeah, I
that there was a rub when I said that. and why is that a rub? Why is that a rub? Because I think as a woman, don't talk.
Yeah, I'm not.
As a woman, if you said I like to be pursued, people wouldn't say, what you mean you like to be pursued? It's just like that's acceptable for you to feel,
and then proceed to talk
as a woman. Like yes, I like to be pursued.
Yeah,
and you might even be complimented on that.
You know your worth.
Yeah, you know your worth. That level of class.
That you're the catch.
Yes.
Ooh.
But if a man says the same thing, like, why is it that men can't? Like,
okay.
If we
I'm
why
agreeing.
can't men have the same desire and emotion that a woman has?
So normally I probably would want to get into like some heated debate about it, but I don't even feel that in my body, because you detailing your experience of like becoming who you are today and saying like sometimes I'm shy in the world makes me feel like women could more enthusiastically show their attraction. I'm not saying pursue, but I'm saying I think it helped me understand. It brought clarity to me that men need to hear compliments.
Yes.
Men need to be enthusiastically
or pursued. But let's talk about I want to unpack the pursue part, because I think I could see why. I can see the hesitancy about fully
you want to unpack
validated. I want to hear what
she want to move right past it.
Yeah, I want to hear what the pursue part. What makes you hesitant?
Because it ain't in her bones right now. So
what make you hesitant about the idea of you pursuing?
So what's funny about the question is there was a time in my life where I would say to myself, like, we're not waiting for men to talk to me. Like, if I want a man, I'm going to talk to him. And I think I no longer have the emotional capacity for that. Like, I feel like
So I no
So
longer have the
it's
emotional
so
capacity.
so it's
to go
personal.
talk to women. So
Yeah, so it's
they have to come to me now.
but hey, and I mean you have to
Know
absorb
thyself.
you have to absorb the consequence, which is sometimes going long periods of time without any sex or intimacy. But I am in a place where I feel, and I don't just feel this way about men. I feel this way about opportunities, career. Like I feel like what's meant for me can't miss me. So whether I'm like, it's all gonna come to me. There may be a situation where I'm put in position to say the first words to a man, and if that's what I'm supposed to do, it'll come to me.
What about pursue?
I don't understand what you mean. Like, are you saying
pursue a man?
Maybe we should clarify what pursuit means. So, are you saying like
that all sounded nice too?
You're saying I want to understand what you're saying. So you're saying like I meet a man that I'm attracted to, and if I'm pursuing something, I'm assuming that the other person is playing hard to get. Is that what's happening? Wait. I don't know what's happening.
Wait.
Like, why am I having to pursue?
Why are we suddenly not understanding?
I don't because I never did. I didn't do that.
Oh my god!
I don't.
Now we don't even understand what pursue.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Okay, so watch this.
Can somebody explain it?
Okay, so maybe it's you met the man, you had a nice conversation, and you know where he works, and do you send him flowers?
Come on.
Why not? Come on. Why not? Why not?
Okay, let's bring it to you're at a bar and it's a man who you are like, oh, he look good. Yeah. Do you send him a drink?
I would.
Okay.
And I have. Yep, I would and I have.
Because I think where I'm seeing pursue is, are you the person who's willing to shoot that first shot?
Yeah, but that's not pursuit. That's just
shoot your shot consistently without knowing that this person is yet feeling you, or that you gonna get that same energy in return. Now you may get it soon, you may get it, later, but you're gonna go do that initial effort without knowing, what's coming out.
Yeah, no, I feel like I have definitely shot my shot first. I have bought a person a drink without any regard for where that drink would go, like as a friendly, you know what I mean? But when I think of pursue, I think of like I'm calling you and you're not answering, and like a pursuit, like a chase, like I'm chasing after you and you're running clearly, because why would I have to pursue you?
Okay,
you understand what I'm saying? So like I don't even know if I recommend for you to be in pursuit, of somebody. So
you think of
anything that you are chasing is trying to get away. Like
somebody is taking on some record meeting now. Okay. Yeah, this is so evasive. Okay.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't, but again, this is a feeling that I have with everything in my life. I'm not chasing any of it. Like, I'm not. And interestingly enough, Jalil was a big catalyst to me having this attitude. So I don't know if it's working for me or not, but Jalil, he would say to me, like, you are worthy of the opportunities that are coming to you. You got this. So, I'm not pursuing things. I'm not chasing things. Like if something comes up and it seems like it's difficult for me to have or get, I'm not doing it. And because I've done it my whole life, and to know I'm not like,
so
I haven't received a reward.
Pursue more as this idea that someone is trying to go after something that is maybe trying that.
Isn't that what it means?
It's trying. I think that is what the literal definition is. I mean, the relationship definition, at least how it's used often, people are at least assume that just means that a guy is trying to go talk to.
Yeah. Okay. So.
But I think you also bring up this idea that where you say you draw your line is you're not chasing, you're not begging, you're not convincing.
Writing a cover letter at this point is hard for me. Like,
but
I am. Do you want me or not? Like, I don't want to do a whole lot of work. I'm overcoming an issue of feeling like I have to do a whole lot of work to be worthy for the blessings that I get, and I'm just not there anymore. So not only am I not pursuing,
But now, having had this conversation, I don't think you should pursue either.
You know what? I'm gonna let you have.
Well, David, when you say that men want to be pursued too, are you define?
You know what?
You tell us, because I want to be able. I want women to hear what men might want. So far, we know you want compliments. How would you? So this is actually a real question I was going to ask. If you sometimes don't have the awareness that a woman is actually enthusiastically interested in you all the time, what would you want women to do to let men know? Men who might also be in this space of like, I just didn't know. Like, I have a lot going for myself. I'm a handsome person, but like, I just maybe didn't fully know that this type of woman would be attracted to me. What would you recommend for women to do to like?
Say hi. I mean, I think all women need to do is give conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think for the most part, if a woman initiates a conversation with a man and he is interested, he's more than likely going to close a conversation with a way to further conversation.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely.
So you think just saying hi?
The idiot to not do that too, but I think at least saying hi, just offering conversation, just let you know I'm open. That's really all it is.
Okay, women say hi.
And let it be known that you open.
Yes.
That you're interested.
Yes, and be enthusiastic about it too. Yeah. Don't be half stepping. Okay, so we're at an hour and my episodes only go an hour and I don't know how to really edit all like that. So I try to just record for an hour. But I want to ask y'all a question that I asked a previous guest. Shout out to Luba. Luba and I did an episode on love back during Sweetest Day, so October, which we talked about how Sweetest Day is for the men, Valentine's Day is for the women. We're coming up on Valentine's Day. But Luba talked about love and, what we're doing as women to try to prepare ourselves to show up as the best women we can be for our men. So one of the things I asked Luba is, how did she come to learn about love? Like, who taught her how to love, who to love? Like, how did she learn love? So that's a question I want to pose to you. Because I'm interested in how that journey matriculates and manifests for men or the masculine. Like, I think people assume that women are naturally nurturing and loving, and so we already got it in the bag. But there are, and there probably is an innate nature, but society does a heck of a job of conditioning all of us, I think, to be more self-absorbed, more, So how did you learn what you now come to believe is love? Because Jalil, you're married. David, you've been married. So I would like to believe that you feel like you've been in love before. So how did you learn what that is?
I mean, I really feel like I just got lucky because I don't think I had any definition, any even investment for definitely through like my teenage years, through I guess early college, and this idea of even finding love. Like I thought like, okay, I'm gonna find love, but I had no idea what that looked like, how to pursue it, like how that was gonna pop up. I don't even think I took the idea of relationships even serious. Honestly, like I was so focused on like I need to hit these milestones, need to do these things with my life that like relationships were just always in my mind something that was fun, something to like have like a relaxing kind of fun little short time with a person, but they always had very clear expiration dates in my mind. Like they were not. So like
you went into these knowing like this is just gonna be I'm here for.
I would say before
good time, not a long time.
before I got with my wife, my partner, most of my relationships before that were just, they were people who we either were, flirting, messing around long enough that it just became a relationship. Versus we were people who were super excited about each other and now we're in a relationship. It was more like, all right, we've been in each other's face enough times now. Been messing around long enough, now we're in a relationship. So like trying to I don't even know if I believed when I was a teenager that you could even be in love. Which I just thought like anybody who I heard talk about they so in love, I'm like, y'all just silly. Like y'all, that's what my attitude was like. Ain't no teenage love. I don't agree with that now, but that was my mentality back then. So the reason why I say I got lucky is because when I met my partner, like, and we for real started dating, like I was in love, like and quick. And I think I was so unprepared and I so um unprepared myself for that with the wrong person, they could have had me on a wild journey because I just had I didn't put no thought into what it means to be in love, how to like have expectations and other things around it. That with the wrong person, I think they could just took me on a wild ride because when I fell in love, I was in deep. But I think I also was fortunate enough to be with a partner who like just had a really considerate, patient, and like I think just like gentle love that helped me who just didn't know shit about love for real, kind of like learn that along the way. So I don't know. I think love now is like this beautiful thing that I imagine that you actually do experience at all these different parts of your life if you are open or able to have that interaction, that connection with a person. And I think it's something that's really about seeing that person outside of yourself, outside of their relation to you, and just being like, I'm wild about who that person is. Not, it could be accomplishments, it could be success, but it's really just who that human being is. You just are wild by them. Like you feel this type of excitement and joy at just the fact that they are here living their life, and that makes you feel like, wow, that's amazing that this person's here. And even more amazing that I get to share that with them. Like that's love. But how I got to that, telling you, like I was a fool.
That is a beautiful definition of love.
That's love. How I got it though.
That was more descriptive than even we had as women. Like that was a very good description of love. Where you at, David?
I don't have a description of the to share, but what I can share is where my idea of love was really birthed. It was the Dwayne Whitley relationship. Because so many people about much more Dwayne is the first person, much more people I want to be like. And so with him, like I kind of saw myself because he was this silly character that nobody took seriously, that evolved into someone that people respected. And then he got the girl that, he won. He got the girl and they were different, but they kind of like, they worked together, and it felt like even in the difficult times when she got on his nerves, he loved her still. It seemed like a realistic version of love for me when I was coming of age to understand love. So that's where I think that Dwayne Whitley taught me my idea of love. And so I'll share this too. I know you're over, but you're already over. So I follow Brandy. I think it's Brandy Evans. Is Evans her last name? So she's Mercedes on P Valley. So I love Mercedes, and that's my one. So I follow her. Shout out to Brandy Evans. and she posted a pic of herself meeting with Jasmine Guy, and she's like, she was just talking about how she loved Whitney's character on A Different World, and like how inspirational she was to her and all that, and how she was like starstruck when she met her. So I commented on it and was like, I said something like, I wanted to be Dwayne Wayne so bad, and she replied and said something like, "Oh my God, I wanted to be Whitley so bad." So
you about to get Brandy? Shout out Brandy. You hear him talking to you?
No, so I wanted to reply like, so if we get married,
you gotta shoot your shot.
We gotta have
Brandy,
a different
pursue this man.
A different world themed engagement party. That's it.
That's a really good story too, though. What was it about Dwayne that you wanted to, like, what?
We don't have the time.
Okay, but like in reference to how he treated Whitley, like what?
It seemed like his desire for her superseded the way she could make him feel at any moment. So like he desired her more than she could annoy him. Like there's nothing that she could do that would just make him not want her.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Yeah. Look at y'all lovebirds.
What's your definition of
love? I would say that now it is a safe space where I can show up authentically and not be anxious. Like I used to think that like that excitement, those butterflies and all that, like was an indication of love or of love would be forthcoming. But I think if I'm in your presence and I feel relaxed, you know what I mean? Like I can just be myself and not have to put on, you know what I mean? Like that's what love feels like to me. And I think I've also started to really understand how expansive my net of love is. Like when you also include things outside of romantic love, like there's so much love. And I think it helps me to like go back to that, like to that understanding, like that love is like I have so many people in my life who I can be myself, who I can show up authentically with, who they can show up like we can just have a like, you know, like this, like, you know, so that's how I see it.
That's real. I like that.
Okay, so quick last question. Valentine's Day. What would you want? Like what would be the ideal gift that a woman who is in pursuit of you, David, could give you? And Jalil, you've been married for how long?
I've been married for 6 years.
So for 6 years.
My partner for.
Okay, so at like this, you got some skin in the game. So what could your partner do that would make you feel loved for Valentine's Day? And then David, what would like a woman who is pursuing you?
You're gonna have a much better answer. I really.
It's not a competition.
No, but like, because I don't know that there's really a thing. Like I mean, I guess a any kind of thoughtful gift would make me happy. Mm-hmm. But I think this might sound really strange, but I think what pleases me most is appreciation. So, like if I do something for a woman on Valentine's Day, if she really appreciates it, that makes me feel best. Aww. More than like something she could get me or like that would be really, really nice, and I like it.
Enthusiastically appreciate you. Yes. Yeah. Like
That. Oh.
that's a neat way to look at that. So bigger than what she might be able to gift you if she was enthusiastically appreciative of whatever you give her.
Yeah.
Even if it was like dinner at Cheesecake Factory, she should still be, I think, enthusiastically appreciative.
Don't take it. Man.
Let me just say real quick, I don't have nothing against Cheesecake Factory. I want to say real quick, I don't have nothing against Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake Factory.
But
that ain't free.
But
Right.
I would prefer to go to like your favorite like hole in the wall hood spot with authentic food than I would the Cheesecake. Why are we going to the Cheesecake Factory? Like I could go to the Cheesecake Factory in any city. Like show me your city. Like show me.
They might be trying to show you
what
high end.
They might like Cheesecake Factory. It might be the place you like.
So let's not play. Okay, now. Now Cheesecake Factory is not considered high end.
But wait a minute.
At one point in time,
I'm not.
Yeah, because
Cheesecake Factory
at the real.
I'm trying to be not invested in the materialism of it, and I'm saying that I would prefer to go to your hood spot
I understand
than I would the Cheesecake Factory.
But a part of that is also that a part of how we define value now in this new era is not just like the hood spot, the hole in the wall has value. The part how we define value is like having something that is seen as authentic or real. Where Cheesecake Factory,
the Cheesecake Factory is not authentic or like.
I'm not trying to defend Cheesecake Factory, but there was a point in time when Cheesecake Factory would have been considered like I'm taking you on a nicer date.
Yeah, for sure.
And now,
and it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm not opposed to the Cheesecake Factory because it's the Cheesecake Factory. I'm opposed to it because there's one in every city. So I've had it before. I want to go on an adventure for a date. Like I want to do something new. I want to go to we go to a taco truck. I don't care. Like I don't want to do something that I've done on my own many times.
So you're pursuing a man.
I wouldn't take him there. Okay. I wouldn't take him there. I would want to feed him fruit on a picnic.
Yeah.
So now what? Okay, so enthusiastically. It's so funny. Like I invite y'all to come and be real, but then it's forcing me to be real too. Okay, Jalil.
Valentine's Day.
Yes. Do you even celebrate this man-made?
Honestly, we do celebrate Valentine's Day.
Okay.
It's not a hugely, but I think just any of these days, if it's an anniversary, Valentine's Day, birthday, I just always some type of card, note, letter, whatever it may be. They just have some type of meaningful message in it. So it could be appreciation, it could be like expressing something that my person recognizes in me that either I may be aware of or may not be aware of. But I think some type of like just message information is a gift.
A card with authentic appreciation. David just wants enthusiastic appreciation for his, like y'all don't want Chanel bags or nothing, huh? I love this.
Need it. But
so ladies, think about that too.
You gotta know your partner. You gotta know your partner.
Everybody
don't want to love letter. Don't play yourself. Don't play yourself.
I'm about to take this Valentine's Day off. What?
I really appreciate y'all being on the podcast. I know there was some apprehension. I enjoyed this conversation so much. And I appreciate y'all authentically showing up. Because that's not always easy to do, to be that vulnerable. So thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to be authentic. I like the Cheesecake Factory. And so I just want to say, in pursuit of happiness,
You gotta find happiness wherever it's at.
wherever it's at.
Eat
And
your
it's,
cheesecake.
yes, absolutely. Let's go. All right. Yeah, thank you. Anything y'all got coming up that y'all want to share with the audience? Shout out to South Africa. You'll be in South Africa next month.
Yeah, yes. It's, 14th, 19th.
So David will be in South Africa. If you are not familiar with the Dr. Jalil Mustafa Bishop, he could be doing any number of things, but one of the things that some listeners will be interested to know is his justice work in fighting for our student loan debt. You can go check him out. He's been on the floor talking about it and trying to advocate for us to get rid of the student loan debt. So, yeah. These are not your average humans at all. Like at all. They're extraordinary. So I'm glad that we got to share that with the world. So all right, the First Mind Podcast. We will see you on our next episode. Let's heal.